Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to my channel Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. This is your daily forecast for June the 12th, Friday. It's not necessarily only for that day specifically. If you find this showing up in your feed or you're coming across this on a day that's not June the 12th, it is a timeless message. So it can be utilized whenever you come across it. There might be information in it. You might be in alignment to it. So just give it a listen and see what you think. My cat is running through the house like a madman. For those of you that support me on Patreon, thank you so very much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. For those of you interested in getting a subscription, you can go to patreon.com and pick a subscription level there. There's readings that are available there that are only available there. People also get to vote on the, I'm going to shut this door because if not, I'm going to have to kill the cat. Yeah, why don't you come in here, bud? People can choose a subscription level there and support me in that way if you choose to do so. You can also follow me on Engelgeist333 at Instagram, or follow and like my business page on Facebook or my YouTube channel, and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you get notified whenever I go live. And if you're interested in a private reading, I am available for those. You can message me at my Facebook page and I can answer any questions you may have. So let's get into Friday the 12th. We're kind of coming out of that hermit energy that we saw on Sunday, that underpinning of hermit energy, and we're going into that idea of the Eight of Swords. And the Starseed Oracle card was baby steps, which was like this whole week, which kind of keeps making me think, you know, just keep gently moving forward, trying to bring yourself, like, I don't know, into like a sort of a better awareness, a better feeling place, whatever that might be for you. We had Chariot yesterday, which is a pretty intense, quick moving energy, but it's also sort of nurturing in the sort of Cancer aspect of it. It's definitely calling out my attention. So hopefully you guys were able to do that. Move forward, yet nurture yourself at the same time. So let's see what we've got going on here. Oh wow, it's the Two of Wands again. Okay. So this is that conversation that was happening at the beginning of the week. It's back and we're maybe rehaving it. Wands is the element of spirit and the element of fire. It's generally an action card, right? It kind of, Wands is also the element of sort of making decisions, making choices, and moving forward. The Two of Wands is arguably, some people say that it's sort of like the soulmate card, or it's about like intense, fiery, passionate relationships, that kind of a thing. And I don't mean fiery in a bad way. I mean just like sort of interconnected at the spiritual level. Some of you might be dealing with that or feeling that. Some of you might be also just sort of deepening your connection to self and your awareness of self. What I said earlier in this week is that we had that Three of Wands at the beginning of the weekly, right, on Sunday, and then we followed on Monday with the Two of Wands. And to me, it feels like this conversation still is being had with us in the background. This may be like brought a little bit more forward, right? This card showing back up to me feels like this conversation. It's almost like these two crystals that are trying to get clarity are discussing with each other, is what I feel like in this card. It just feels like they're sort of bouncing information back and forth. Now, this could be you bouncing information within your mind, mulling things over, trying to make clear, concise decisions. That's the crystal aspect of this. Also trying to remain like sort of connected to the world around you. Again, we have this sort of desert backdrop. And to me, that gives me this idea that some of us might be focused on the environment not feeling very supportive right now. Not feeling very like sort of life-sustaining in a way. And that's okay. I think that I don't get a sense or a feeling from these cards that, from this card, that these crystals are in any sort of trouble. It just sort of feels to me like we might be looking around and going like, really? It's that sort of feeling like, really? Is this what I'm dealing with today? There may be a lack of optimism, and that's not necessarily something that is uh, uh, found in this Two of Wands card. It's not like necessarily a traditional sort of meaning, but it is what I'm sort of feeling with this card. I do feel like, again, I'm going to state this because I stated it the first time. This could be conversations we're happening with significant others or people outside of ourselves, but this could very well be an internal conversation that we are having within ourselves. And I think that coming off of that hermit energy, right? Because we're in Friday, right? So I feel like we could be coming off of that hermit energy and we're going into that Eight of Swords. For those of you that are following along and kind of looking at even connecting to some of these cards, like choosing to connect to these cards. The Eight of Swords is sort of like, to me, eights are about bringing in balance and harmony in a way. And so when we bring in that balance of the sword suit, which is the element of air, and kind of seek that out, right? Sort of the balancing of our thoughts. I feel like this Two of Wands is sort of the conversation that we need to have within ourselves to be able to do that, right? Even in the midst of, say, adversity or an environmental lack, right? Like we might not feel very inspired by our environment or what's going on around us right now. We might feel that we may be struggling, or there's a lack of work or a lack of inspiration, in the sense that we're not feeling very happy. But what I think is that with this Two of Wands, to me, I feel like there's a clarity that's taking place. There's a strengthening that's taking place. There's an ability to stand on one's own that's happening here. That's kind of important. I also like that we have this sun, sort of like these clouds, to me, sort of, again, feature this idea of not knowing the future, not being able to foresee the future, right? Not really knowing where things are going to go to, or whether or not things will go back to normal, whether or not we'll be able to go back to sort of our day-to-day, right? This sun dawning somewhere here in the back, I see sort of light coming through. It says to me that we get a little bits of more and more information little by little, right? So, and that's sort of also the energy of that card from Baby Steps, which I keep thinking about that card. To me, it feels like be gentle with yourself, move forward as best you can, make choices and changes where you can, but have this sort of this clarity of these crystals and the strength of these crystals I feel like they're just bouncing energy back and forth to one another. Like it feels like an open-ended conversation. Have that conversation with yourself. Find that connection within yourself at sort of a deeper spirit-based level. Because it's almost like, to me, and it's funny, it's like these clouds coupled with this desert. To me, it almost feels like we're being forced to deal with ourselves. Because what we're looking at outside of ourselves is so sort of unpleasant or unknown that it's not really giving us the sort of answers that, oh wow, it's not sort of giving us the answers that it used to provide. It's almost like we need to find, and this is the visual that I just got that made me say, oh, whoa, we almost need to find the barometer that is within ourselves now. Like, it almost feels like perception, and this is going to sound really weird, but it feels to me, or like the picture that I'm getting as I'm looking at this card, is it feels like our GPS or our perception is moving inward versus looking to the outside world for cues. We can utilize the outside world to kind of define who we are, and we have done that for many decades, right? It's been very easy to allow sort of society to define who we are, where we stand, what choices we make, how we live, that sort of a thing, even if we don't enjoy it or we don't agree with it. We've maybe made decisions or done things so that we could fit in with societal norms. Well, right now, society is this desert, and where society is headed is these clouds. We don't really know. So what we need to do is somewhat become reliant upon ourselves and sort of crystal clear in our awareness. And the only way we can do that is by coming in more like deeper spiritual connection within ourselves. And so that's kind of what this card is representing. The fact that it's showing back up this week is reminding us that this conversation is still happening, or should still be happening, or needs to continue to happen within us. The words here are achievement and independence. And that independence is that idea of relying upon oneself versus the outside world to give us our cues, right? The outside world right now, I feel like it's sort of maybe shocking some of us or pushing some of us into realizations, decisions, that sort of thing, where we have to choose where we stand. And we have to stand there sort of clearly, like this crystal. But it's like the outside world's not going to necessarily give us the support that it usually has in the past. At least not now. I mean, there is this sun coming in the background, right? So it does say to me that light is dawning. There is this new information on the horizon, but I feel like it's taking a while to show up. And the reason why it's doing that is we need to find that within ourselves. It's interesting because sun usually charges crystals, right? And so to me, it's like the metaphor is that we're not going to get the charge until we sort of can stand clearly on our own, knowing what we need to know, being true to who we truly are, connecting to our spiritual self and those answers. It's almost like I feel like we can't afford to use society's standards or what other people need of us anymore as the defining factors of who we are or how we behave. We need to sort of find those answers within ourselves at this point. I hope this is making sense. It's just, I'm coupling this with that Hermit card, with that Chariot card, everything that we're seeing. It's like this idea of sort of moving forward in this energy of, I don't know if self-sufficiency is the right word, but it is this awareness, this independence, this sort of idea of knowing who we are, what we believe, standing true in that, and moving forward in that, regardless of what's going on around us. Let's see what the Starseed Oracle has to say. What else do we need to know with this Two of Wands? Okay, your life is a canvas. We've seen this card. Art, manifestation, creative accountability. So when I look at this, your life as a canvas is about sort of we get to be the painter, the creator, right? And this conversation that's happening between these two crystals to me, or this conversation that should be happening within ourselves, is creating our reality. It is creating our awareness. It's creating our sort of, our beliefs in ourselves, in the world around us. And it's interesting to me, the contrast that we have this desert here, but yet internally, I feel like, or within ourselves, if we become aware, there's just so much more going on in this Your Life as a Canvas card, right? Like it feels to me like there's these mountains, we've got all of this color and swirl and things happening. And again, we have sort of this crystal standing on this small hill discussing with that one, and we have this person here sort of looking forward. It's like, how are we viewing things? To me, this sort of looks like a glass half full, glass half empty scenario. Are we looking at things from a place of desolation and no hope? Or are we looking at things where we get to sort of have these conversations within ourselves to further understand and better rely upon ourselves as we navigate through whatever might be challenging for us, right? But we need to remember that any challenge we can rise to, that this life is a canvas card. To me, it talks about manifestation, artist and creative accountability. We have to be accountable for what we create. We have to be accountable. We have to remember that we are sort of, and that's this independence that we see in this Two of Wands card, right? So even if we make choices through inaction, we're making a choice, guys. It's this idea that if we choose to turn a blind eye or continue to choose to turn a blind eye to situations that maybe feel hopeless, like this desert, or unknown, like the clouds that we see in this Two of Wands card, if we're having this discussion within ourselves and then we're just choosing to shut it off, we're actually sort of, I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're not taking accountability. We're not taking responsibility. We're not sort of moving ourselves forward. you get the choice here. Like there's definitely a choice, I feel like, with these cards, where you get to choose to be the creator, to be the artist, and you get to paint whatever you want. And you don't have to make huge, giant changes, and that's that baby steps that we saw at the beginning of the week, right? That underpinning Starseed Oracle card that says baby steps, meaning like taking smaller steps or taking things in more manageable portions is completely okay and acceptable. But I feel like these cards are calling out, asking us to have those deeper conversations within self, and then to move forward towards those understandings. We are creating here. Some of us are creating through inaction, or through not like going deep, if that makes sense, through not like seeking through our psyche, or finding new answers, or opening up our minds to different opportunities or options that are out there. Staying closed in a box, limiting ourselves. Your life as a canvas is not about limiting oneself. I mean, you can see all the activity on that card. It's about sort of opening yourself up to that stuff. All right, let's see what Okay, so the grounding stone, this is what we want to ground in today, is happiness. So I think that what makes us happy, what do we really want ultimately in this world, in our world for ourselves, in our world for others, in the, on the planet as a whole, all of those things, what would bring about that happiness? I think focusing on that, grounding in that as a focal point, will allow you to sort of also begin to create with this manifestation and this artist aspect of this life as a canvas. If we're creating from that sort of happiness, we did see that stone of joy earlier this week, and freedom, those are very similar attributes or vibrations. So like if we kind of focus on those things as we have these conversations, and we move through the world with that as our sort of grounding point or our set point, we're able to sort of create things that are based in that vibration, that might actually bring back that vibration not only to us but to those around us. So what makes you happy? What makes you feel sort of that a tinge of joy, or like an excitement again? I feel like this Two of Wands with this desert picture, we almost need to get that back. But we might, I just sort of feel like we need to, there's definitely things that, like, I feel like self-discovery or conversations that need to happen within ourselves with this Two of Wands that should be happening all of this week, whenever we have a spare moment. If that makes any sense, because we are creating, this life as a canvas we are creating, whether we're choosing to avoid or not make decisions or not pay attention or put things off, it's really sort of up to us. So this idea of what makes us most happy, pursue that would be my suggestion, or ground in that and work your way towards that. It will also change this sort of outlook of this desert and this desolateness. I hope that makes sense. That is your forecast for the day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see where these cards go. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, I love you. Bye-bye.